We have the noise from the street to contend with and from the wind, so I'll try to be as clear as possible. So I had Tony Falcone that has come up in one or two examples of narcissism on my videos. And Tony Falcone was pretty much exactly 1 year older, and he was like an inch or two shorter than me, and I'm pretty short. In high school, I was 5'8.5", so he was about 5'6", and he got really, really into weightlifting, and it really, really paid off because he got huge. But he was a narcissist, and he came from Julie. About 2 months ago, I made the video, what happens to the family scapegoat if they don't leave, and I told the story of my mother's sister, my aunt Julie, and so she had Tony and two daughters, and Tony was the second oldest, the middle child, and the two girls did not strike me as narcissists, but I never really hung out with them, and when I would spend time there as a child at their house, they didn't seem to be narcissists, but neither did Tony. Tony, I thought, was just a really crazy, fun-loving individual. So then he and I, well, let me first say, and so he was my main friend on my mother's side of the family, which is much, much more the narcissistic side of the family. There was definitely some toxicity on my family side of the family, but more of like ambition and competition and not full-blown NPD. But anyways, so I had that cousin on my mom's side, and then I had my cousin Philip on my father's side, which was my aunt's son as well. So the firstborn, my dad's oldest sister, my dad was born second, Loretta Lindholm, and Philip was pretty much my best friend. We didn't have to go break things for him to be happy, and I laughed more with him than I've ever laughed with anyone in my entire life. We were just always about having fun and giggling together, and I'll go to the grave loving him more than he'll ever know. But so around the same time period, I was actually about maybe 8 years, 10 years separate. So when I'm going through graduate school, my dad loses an office space where I was living for free. And so I moved into my grandmother's house where my cousin Philip was living. And another cousin there was living there by the name of Steve, or actually Woodrow. And but me and Philip one night agreed to go out to the House of Billiards in Santa Monica on Wilshire Boulevard. And so we go there, and we're not going with our hearts set on any purpose other than to catch up and enjoy each other's company. And we had a great time. We had a pint or two of beer. It was just he and I had our own table. And then right next to us was Kim Baker and her friend. They were both, Caucasian girls with blonde hair, and Philip and I were both blonde hair, blue-eyed gentlemen. So, but both of us got into long-term relationships out of that night. Nothing really happened that night. We just really enjoyed meeting them, got their phone numbers, and went our separate ways. But Philip at a later date told me, that he was dating her until he had to leave for college. And I was dating this one until I left for England when I did that semester in England in 1987, right after I had turned 20 years old. But then when I get separated, legally separated, my cousin wants to get me to take me to meet a girl. So we go out to a full-on like meat market spot in Venice Beach, and sure enough, we meet a couple, and sure enough, I end up kind of doing some things, not all the way, so to speak, but after Tony goes his separate ways, I end up with this girl alone and take her back to her apartment. She invites me in, and we fool around on the couch a little bit, and I never end up seeing the girl again. And I was still legally married, so it was just, you can see that, like, I could tell you a lot of situations with the narcissistic cousin where I drank too much and he's like telling me to go home, and literally like holding me up, walking me to my car as he wishes me well, and I've got like a full-on hour-long drive home. Just like why would he do that? Why a good friend would not do that to you? But with the other cousin, never any bad intentions, and he was adopted. He had Paul Newman blue eyes, like a really cool, well-kept swimming pool, his eyes. But they would always get bloodshot because my parents, I was blessed enough to have a swimming pool, at least starting in 1976. And we would spend sometimes the whole day in the swimming pool, just getting out to like eat peanut butter and jelly sandwiches and just spend the whole day in the pool. And his eyes would get so bloodshot. And his hair was blonder than mine, so his hair would actually start to turn green. But anyways, if you stayed this long and are listening to the changing colors of my cousin's hair color, I appreciate you. Love you. But yeah, right there you'll see an example of, the fruit of that relationship. You'll see definitely more fruit come out of any relationship with someone that is a child of God, empathic, chosen, versus a scheming, plotting, demonically influenced individual. Have a good day. I love you. God bless. Amen.